ekam aksharam hrudi nirantaram bhasate swayam likyate tatam. हृदय कुहर मध्ये केवलम ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहं साक्षात् आत्मरूपे भाति हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वता मज्जता पावन चलन आत्मनिष्ठो देहं जडात्मकम् अहं न तस्यास्त्यतो मोहं तत्तद्भावशुद्धिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भाव दृष्टा मनिष्ठा सोहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः विभाति स्वयं सोहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः विभाति स्वयं नमो रमण. At the very outset, the topic we have taken for us, the solution to all problems, on the face of it, appears very arrogant or bombastic. But then this is not the statement coming from any individual. This is the essence of all the knowledge of the rishis who have meditated and brought out the scriptures of Vedanta, that indeed there is only one root cause to all problems, and the removal of that root cause is the solution to all problems. So at the very beginning, the The humility has to be there from the individual presenter that this is not a solution that is coming from any individual. From the study of everything that ever is, ever can be, ever will be, from the study of all that, the rishis have come up with one root cause. And that's incredible in itself, because we seem to be pressured by so many problems of so many dimensions, so many layers. Where do we even begin? So we begin with today itself. Because if the problems are so all encompassing, they must be present even now. They must have been present even today in some of our discussions. So let me begin with this morning discussion with one of my old students, student of the secular education that I was providing. I was providing education for the entrance exams, bank entrance exams. So he was a student in 2000, year 2000 or just before that. He continues to be in touch with me, and we were on call today in the morning. He's an extraordinarily bright individual, and he was saying that the last 4 years back he had called me. He wanted to enter into the stock markets, and my suggestion was that he has to inquire into himself and find the necessity to enter into that and then go in. If he finds it necessary, he has to enter that area and find out. And he has survived. He has survived more than adequately for the 4 years in a very complex area. He has chosen for himself called options and whatever the futures trading that he says. I understand very little of that. But he keeps in touch with me. And he was saying this morning that in his area where he was operating with a degree of success mixed with failure, but overall it was successful for him within inverted commas. He was saying off late something is happening, that there are huge funds from abroad, really humongous funds, the capital funds belonging to some institutions, who enter this market and simply swab away whatever the surpluses that are there, that are possible. From their own techniques, they are taking away everything that is possible to be made. And such a self-made person like him, he himself was finding it very difficult to survive. So I was telling him, and he was taking a few days off from the market to reassess whether he should continue, if at all, in what manner and all that. So I said, this is a very special moment, that when you can assess where you are and assess your problems, that is a very special moment, because that is the time when you can go for the root cause analysis. In diagnosis, in medical diagnosis, they say if cancer is there, it may manifest in various ways. It may have some effect on some internal organs. It may have some internal tumors some places. It may even have some small rashes on the outside of the skin. If you merely treat the rashes on the outside of the skin, obviously all of us understand that is not dealing with the problem at the root. And the root problem will be festering and will continue to cause whatever it is causing, the suffering. In the same way, I said to him, this is the time when you are troubled by the problems of this world and you are assessing where you are and what you have to do. This is a very precious time. So go for root cause analysis. They said, what do you intend to do here? And he was suggesting that I should try and find out the other opportunities in the market, the other ways in which I can continue where the foreign funds cannot come. And we were discussing, and I was pointing out to him, see, this is where the tradition has, the spiritual practices have pointed out that the problem is not really in their knowledge of the stock market. You cannot hear? Someone can't hear?
Actually, we can hear, sir.
Yeah, I think one
I
person.
think those
That's all
who
right.
can't hear, can you please step up your device volume? We can hear. Please continue, sir.
Yes. So I was telling him that is where the tradition, the spiritual practices have analyzed that. I was sharing with him, see, we had admitted our my sister's husband, brother-in-law, to a very big hospital nearby because he is recovering from his heart attack. And a subsequent problem, to overcome that, we had gone 1 day in ICU, 2 days in ward. And in the ward, I was sharing this with him, with my student. In the ward, there was this other gentleman. It was a twin sharing ward, semi-private or whatever we call it. He was an 80-year-old man, just come out of 15 days of ICU. And his son was there. And when we were getting discharged, the son was asking, do you feel that in this hospital, sometimes they extend the ICU stay unnecessarily? So I had to share with him that the three of us who have come here, my brother-in-law, my sister, and myself, we feel that the treatment he had could have been done in outpatient itself. That is our sincere feeling. But he had to go for a day's ICU and then come to 2 days of ward. So there could be this good possibility that though they have medical knowledge, they are having this problem of insufficiency, and naturally as an outcome there is greed. So I was sharing with my student, see, whether they have medical knowledge or whether they have engineering knowledge or whether they have knowledge of the stock market, if a person basically has greed, has discontent with what he has, what does he do? He is already suffering. That greed comes from feeling insufficient. What we have, what God has given us, what the nature has given us, the circumstances in which we are finding ourselves in, is insufficient. We are so separate from others, and we have been ill-treated by any of these forces that we feel insufficient with what we are possessing. Therefore, there is greed. In Bhagavan's hall, Ganesh Nanda would say that there was an incident where he was a very small boy. Ganesh Nanda is one of the children of Bhagavan's brother's son. He is still there in the ashram. And he used to narrate this story. When he was a small boy, he had this incredible opportunity to be with the sage himself, to grow up in the presence of that sage, to the presence of the solver of all problems. And once a set of sweets, usually in the ashram, there is this practice that whenever somebody brings something, Bhagavan will take a small bit out of it, and whatever is rest will be distributed equally with everybody present. And Ganesh Nanda was given the responsibility of giving the sweet. And while giving, I think he took one thing extra or took one thing from the share of a monkey. And the monkey hit him. And he came to Bhagavan and told. And Bhagavan gave him the Upadesha. See, that sorrow came because of your asking for that extra portion. I had already given you what you require, the part of the prasada. But asking for a bit more, feeling discontented with what you have. That is the cause. That was the monkey's share, and he feeling deprived has pity. This is more or less what happened, or the essence behind the incident, that the greed in person or the discontent in person can cause sorrow to himself first. He's already discontented. That will manifest as causing sorrow to others. So I was sharing with my student, can we see that the root cause is not the education of stock market or the education of medicine or the education of science. We have seen that science can be used for the nuclear bomb or for the purpose of healing people. So the education stream is jada, is inherent. But the person and the way he feels about himself is the root cause, and that is the root cause analysis given by the Buddha. He says that desire is the root cause of dukkha. Birth is sorrow, growth is sorrow, illness is sorrow, death is sorrow. To be joined with that which you don't like is sorrow. To be separated from that which you like is also sorrow. And the root cause of all sorrow is desire. And what is the third one? The special desire to have a separate existence from the rest. The ego is the third noble truth that Buddha says, that is called as Hinayana, the path where the individual goes to the root cause and negates it for himself and then brings it out to others. The Mahayana is the study of the desire, which is more commonly spread over everybody, and you can do wider sharing and sadhana. But in plucking out the ego, one has to do that oneself. Even in desire, one has to do oneself, but one can have this opportunity of this kind of sharing and discussion and all that, which will have both aspects, which will have plus and minus. Whereas Bhagavan's root cause analysis is what we are going to see, that the desire itself, the special desire to have a separate existence, is at the root cause of all sorrows, says Bhagavan. And there is one verse which I am going to read out, the 26th verse in Ulladu Narpadu, which Bhagavan gives as the root cause for all the sorrows. Ahandai undayin anaithum undagum. Ahandai inrel inranaitum. Ahandaye yavumam. Adalal yadidendru nadale vovudal yavumena or, says Bhagavan. Please excuse my reading the Tamil original. I will narrate it in English. The Kalivenba is a meter of Ulladu Narpadu, which Bhagavan has combined all the verses into one whole shloka. In that, Bhagavan says, Karuvam ahandai undai, embryonic ego. The embryo, the whole of suffering, the whole of problems is present in this embryonic stage called the I thought. He says, only after the I thought separates itself apparently from the source, all the problems arise. Agandai undayin anaithum unda. Agandai inrel inranaitum. Agandaye yavuma. If the ego arises from the source, everything arises. If the ego subsides into the source, everything subsides. Therefore, everything is only the form of the I. So, what is this I? To inquire into that is the simultaneous ridding of all problems, says Bhagavan. Usually, when my mother used to be there, she was here till March 8. when such a talk is there or such sharing is there, I will go and update her first. I will share with her the Ulladu Narpadu verse. We will have a kind of discussion, more one way, and then I will come. And her assistant also will be there, so that if at all any sharing has to be between them, they can do that. Today I had the opportunity to share this with my sister and brother-in-law who are there, who are just back from the hospital where we had gone. And the same assistant continues. So I was sharing with them. I am going upstairs to share the solution to all problems. So he is facing a particular situation where it's very critical. That is the root problem in one sense of Bhavarogam. The birth and death is what we are facing there. It was a very complex operation in February, and he survived that, and he is facing the recovery from there. So I was sharing with them, see, Bhagavan, this is what I am going to share about the stock market that he says, and about the hospital experience we have had, that the greed which the individuals have, that is more root cause to the sufferings that we have, and then we give to others, than what other knowledge we have. And Bhagavan says that the root of all desires, if all desires can be reduced to thoughts, the root of all desires is the desire for separate existence. In deep sleep, neither you, Lakshmikanji, nor you, Subhasri, nor you, Shweta, the assistant, or nor me, we had any separate existence. We did not feel that we are separate from the rest. The ego had not arisen. Therefore, everything had subsided there. But unfortunately, we were not conscious there. Our consciousness could not sustain the thrall of sleep, because we have not come out of ignorance yet. We have not understood who we are. So our average consciousness is not able to penetrate the coming of deep sleep. But then the deep sleep has this great advantage that all the differences that we have is all vanished into that oneness. And the moment you get up in the morning, everything gets up. Everything arises. Agandai undayim. The moment the ego arises, everything arises. There is this discussion between a solicitor's daughter and Bhagavan. Solicitor's daughter from Chennai. She asked Bhagavan, why are you asking us to do self-inquiry? Is it necessary to do self-inquiry? The who am I, which you are asking us to do? And Bhagavan says, no, there is no need. Who is asking you to do? Why don't you remain as you are in the present condition? She says, no. I am in the present condition. I am having lot of problems, lot of disquiet in my mind. Bhagavan says, that is why who am I is given. To remove the problems, to remove the disquiet in the mind, the who am I is given. Then the lady, she asks, if I do who am I, will the world become quiet? Is the world only my thought? If I do who am I, if I go into the source of my separateness, will the world vanish and will all my problems vanish? And Bhagavan says, you inquire into your source from where you are coming. Let the world inquire into its source. Let the world bother about the source from which it is coming. You seek the source from which you are coming. But she is not, she is a solicitor's daughter. She is not going to give up. So she says, no, I want this to be clear, that I see this solid world and it oppresses me. There are so many problems. If my thoughts are subsiding into the source, is this world only my thoughts? There Bhagavan yields and he says, when you go to sleep, there are no thoughts, there is no outside world to perceive. The moment you get up, there is this subtle body, there is the world that arises. What else can that be? What else can the samsara be except thought forms? So I shared with them, this is what Bhagavan says, that the root cause of all problems is in feeling, getting up and feeling, I am this body, I am Lakshmikant separate from the others, I am Shweta separate from others, I am Nanda Kumar separate from others. And what does Bhagavan ask us to do? See if you are really separate. Trace the source of the I thought and see if there is division in that source. Is there really a division in the source as subject and object? So far as you feel the division as subject is separate from the object, keep up the inquiry. For whom is this feeling that this object is separate from me? Your answer will be, this is for me. Who am I? Will take you to the source. Now, that is the root cause analysis that Bhagavan does. There is a support from, if at all it is needed, from Einstein, the scientist, who says that our feeling of the separate entityship is an optical illusion. It is not true, he says, that we are separate from others is not true. It is an optical illusion. See, he is one person who feels that science can never answer the spiritual questions. And scientists have to do the spiritual inquiries by themselves. That they have to inquire into what is all this, what is this area of spirituality, and find answers for themselves. So his inquiries have led him to this point that the sensory body, it is created from time immemorial, from all the information that has passed by in creation. But then some consciousness arises and claims, forgetting that this sensory body has been created by the process of time immemorial, it rises and claims that this is me. And he says that is an optical illusion. This belongs to Prakriti, according to him. This is made of atoms and it belongs to everything. And that is the finding of another scientist called Tom Chi, that the body is changing every day to the extent of 7%. The 7% of body weight is being exchanged with the world in the form of food, water, and air that we consume. What is it being replaced with? The earth there is coming and becoming the body, and body is becoming earth. Earth there is becoming the body, body is becoming the earth. But then the consciousness, so it is merely earth being there, coming here, going off. And in 2 weeks, the body is almost 95%, not the one what it was 2 weeks before. 95, 96% of the atoms are all changed. Only some atoms remain for 4, 5, or 6 months. And by 6 months, the entire body is changed. But that individual consciousness comes and firmly grips this as this is me. And that is the root of all suffering, says Bhagavan. The individual consciousness raising and grasping this body and saying, this is me, the body am I, and feeling that when the body is going to die, I am going to die. That is the Bhava Roga, says Bhagavan. Is it as simple as that? That merely the physical body, the aggregation of the atoms, the consciousness coming and gripping it, this alone is the root cause? Of course not. There is the subtle body with which we also identify. So the root cause that we feel separate from others is what Bhagavan says is the root cause of all problems. And this is not true. The separateness from others is not true. Let us understand a little bit how we come and get trapped, apparently, in this limitation. And in deep sleep, somehow we are free of it. But the moment you get up, somehow, since we are ignorant of the whole show, we come and get trapped in Nanda Kumar again. What is this process? This process has been investigated by the Greeks. The story is the boat of Theseus. They call it as boat of Theseus. In YouTube, you can see it under the heading, Who Am I? Boat of Theseus. If you put, you will understand the root cause of all problems. What we are talking of, the solution to all problems. But unless you find the root cause of all problems, how do you find the solution? So what is this boat of Theseus? It is said that in Greece, thousands of years ago, there used to be a great demonic creature in an island near this Greek island, could be Sparta or could some place. In that island, it will come and it will cause a lot of sorrow to the islanders here in the mainland. One great hero called Theseus had taken a boat by himself and slayed that demon and come back to the mainland. And every year at that particular day, these people from the mainland will take that boat to that island, have a great celebration. Like Deepavali and other days we celebrate, they will have a great celebration and come back. Now, this has happened 1,000 years ago. By the time this philosopher is inquiring into this boat of Theseus, for 1,000 years, that boat, the same boat, has been taken to that island and brought back during the festivities. What this philosopher inquires is, there are about 200 planks of which the boat is made. There are about 200 wooden planks of which the boat of Theseus is made. And in 1,000 years, he knows all of those planks one by one would have become rotten and would have been damaged. And absolutely they have been replaced by other planks. That is how the boat is still there. In fact, he knows those planks have been replaced many times over. So his question is, now that the planks are changed, just like the atoms in our body, is it the same boat? Is it the boat of Theseus? And he says, this is the problem we have in our identity also. The doctor who feels greedy, or the manager who feels greedy, don't mistake me, or the stock market analysts from abroad who feel greedy, or anyone. It could be a simple matter that you are doing sadhana. Bhagavan has said, do sadhana. Guru has said, do sadhana. You will be doing sadhana, and suddenly this thought will come. What sincerity I am doing sadhana, and nothing is happening. This God is so unkind. He is not giving me anything. We would have forgotten that from the evolution, he has given us a human birth. And in human birth, he has given us some mumukshutva, which is so far in this greedy world. And we have been part of that greed for so long. And you call it nature, you call it the supreme being, that has revealed to us there is a liberation from this. And not only that, it has given us a sadhana, but we will get greedy there. I am calling it greed, you can call it something else more palatable. But it is the non-contentment with what we have, what all we have received. We could have been that hydrogen molecule which was there in Big Bang. But then that has evolved over billions of years. It has evolved into living, in one sense. It has evolved into human beings. It has evolved in a place where it understands there is something beyond this bonding. And it is applying itself to that sadhana, and then it becomes discontented. So that greed or discontent can happen to anyone, irrespective of the circumstances we are in. And Bhagavan, of course, has said that even more root cause than that is, for whom is this greed? The root cause of the problem is the separation from the source. And we find that in the Theseus story, that it is the ability of the ego or the ignorance of the ego which feels that it exists only by identifying with this non-self called as body, the boat, or the non-self called as I am a doctor, or I am a stock market specialist, or I am so and so. My family should somehow survive in the most comfortable nature possible compared to all else. While talking to my sister, I was saying, see what thought you will be having. And we both agreed that she will be thinking of her son, that somehow or the other, the son should be taken care of. He is in the US, he should be taken care of. I said, see, I am different. I am a great person, isn't it? So therefore, I will think only about Subiksha of everybody. So I will think that let the world be in Subiksha. But both of us have the root problem same, that you have also risen as I from the source. I have also risen as I from the source. I identify with this body and with this mind, which has somehow got information that wishing for the Subiksha of everyone is better than wishing for Subiksha of my own people or whatever. But you have the wishing of the welfare of your son. But your son is your whole world. How does it matter whether you wish for the welfare of the whole world or you wish for the welfare of your son? Your whole world is, your whole cosmos is in that. That is enough. Both are ignorant that the world Subiksha is dependent on Ishvara or your son Subiksha is dependent on Ishvara. Both of us are ignorant. Your ignorance is less than mine. Me feeling that I can do something about the world Subiksha is obviously more ignorant, blatant, unhumble situation than yours, who is saying that I can only worry about my son. But both are having the root cause that I identify with this Nanda Kumar, who has got all this knowledge and feeling this thought is better. And your Subha, my sister, you has identified with these thoughts and you feel your son should be better off. But Bhagavan is saying the root cause is that you are feeling separate from the source, the Ishvara. And he is saying the solution. What is the solution? I have to let go of the thought, let the world be. The arrogant thought that let the world, one sense, and it is a meditation in Buddhism which takes us beyond many limitations. It's a different story altogether. I am trying to narrate what we had as discussion here. I was trying to equate myself with my sister, which is what we should do. We are all in the same boat, the boat of Theseus, where we are identified with the body and the mind. And what we have to do, we have to inquire, who am I? And stop grasping the physical body or the subtle body. But Bhagavan says, go to the source of the thought. He doesn't mention the physical body much in self-inquiry. He just says, whenever a thought arises, inquire for whom is this thought? What is the secret behind that? Why doesn't he keep on mentioning you have to get rid of the body also? There is a discussion in talks with Sri Ramana Maharshi where Bhagavan says that how the root cause creates this illusion and how looking at thoughts will take you beyond the sensory world also. He gives us the clue. He says that everyone sees himself and the world. Of course, the Rishi cannot posit the absolute truth in the beginning itself. The Rishi has to come down to our level, and then only we will be able to move with him to what he is saying as the solution to all problems. Everyone sees himself and the world and takes both to be real. He says that everyone takes himself and the world, sees himself and the world, and takes both himself and the world to be real. But what is the test of reality? The test of reality for Bhagwan is that it should always exist. See, if there is a God, as there is a God, as there is a God, what should be the essential nature of God? And the Rishi gives a beautiful definition. And he has not derived it, it is already there. He says that the essence of God is that he is ever present. Unless that reality or God is ever present, how can he relieve you or she relieve you or it relieve you from all problems? Unless it is ever present. The basic condition for God or for reality is that it should be ever present. Ulla porul. It should be that which ever is. This is the definition Bhagavan gives. But does the world and the observer remain constant? Are they both real? Bhagavan says, no. Both are present in the waking and the dream, but are absent in deep sleep. Both the division as the separate seer, separated from this whole cosmos, that is not present in deep sleep. Therefore, since it is present sometimes and absent at other times, this division as seer and seen, as experiencer and experienced, cannot be real, cannot be the reality. He goes one step further. He says that in waking and dream, this illusion is there of separateness of seer and seen. But in deep sleep, it is not there. What is that which is present in waking and dream, but is missing in deep sleep? What is it that is present in waking and dream, but is missing in deep sleep? It is the mind. So Bhagavan says that in waking and dream, mind is present. In deep sleep, mind is not present. So mind is the creator of waking and dream, and mind itself is unreal. And when you cross the mind as an unreality, the waking state of sensory experience will also be transcended. Because mind is the adhara for the waking and the dream. Now we can think of the dream, even in the waking, we can bring dream. By the imaginary stories we have told, our daughter is in very depressing mood. Some low marks in mathematics has come and she wants to cry before you tell anything. You wind up a story. You whip up a story. Seema, you are going to be greater than Bill Gates. You will take your grandmother for breakfast to France, and then once she finishes, you will ask, where do you want to go for lunch? And by the time you say you are going to take her to this place for lunch, she will already be lightened up. Because that I thought, which was grasping the depressing thought of low marks, it has lifted itself out of that gloomy mode, moving with you in the story, in the imaginary story. So we can understand what happens in dream. In dream, the mind creates everything out of itself. In the sensory waking state, it uses the additional tool of the gross senses. That is all. Therefore, Bhagavan says, if you inquire into the thoughts and if you transcend the mind, not if you, when you transcend the mind, you will transcend both all the problems in the waking state, all the problems in the dream state, and you will bring deep sleep here itself, because you will come to the no mind state. So when the ego goes to the source by inquiring who am I, when the separateness is inquired into in the Hinayana, in the individual level, what is the inquiry going? Any thought comes, don't pursue it, you inquire. But in the Mahayana, what is happening? In the Mahayana, you are crossing the waking state and you are crossing the dream and you are going towards deep sleep. Each time you are letting go of a thought, The thought could be something that brings you towards the waking state, sensory experience, or it could be taken to thoughts free of the senses. So it is a conscious dream state, it could push you into that. But without yielding to either, you are going to inquire for whom is this thought. So in the Hinayana, in the individual level, you are inquiring for whom is this thought, who am I, taking the I thought to the source. But in the whole scheme of things, the consciousness is moving from waking state, treating the whole waking state as dream, because you are dealing it at thought level. And are you holding on to the dream? Are you clutching the dream? Are you making the dream into a Theseus boat by saying, I am a doctor? The management has told me somehow or the other, your account should show 200 crores by the end of the year. You are the cardiologist, you are in charge. If 200 crores revenue is not there, then we don't know, we'll have to look for somebody else. Or they may say differently, 200 crores is there, you will get this. Either way, I am the doctor. I am having that Theseus boat. I am grasping that set of knowledge that I am this. I am having all this. This is not enough. I have to reach point B. I have to become that. And when I become that, I will be more happier. Having delivered the 200 crores target, having got the black Toyota, I will be better off. I will be more happier. That is where the Theseus boat comes. What is the Theseus boat? It is the consciousness which forgets its limitless nature and identifies with a limited body and a limited set of thoughts, aggregates them and says, this is me. This is where the problem of the rebirth comes. You understand that the body's death is no death at all. It is just the atoms going back to their elements. The mind is more complex. That is why Hinduism says, even when the body dies, that person's aggregated Theseus boat will be traveling to Pitraloka, will be traveling to Devaloka, will be traveling to this loka or that. What is that? That is the Theseus boat. The Theseus boat of aggregated thoughts. And in one of the talks, Bhagavan says, that story is that the aggregated thoughts, which you call yourself as I, at the time of death of the body, will hold the prana, will take the prana and say, come, let's go. And wherever Ishvara destines it, it has to go. Now, how to solve this problem? All the problems of the world are there. Somebody comes and says, see, your mother has died, she is going to Pitraloka. Unless you do this karmas, she is going to be unhappy. And all that karma will be loaded on to you. And we don't know anything about this. We are deeply worried, what happens to that mother? What happens to that father? And what is my duty to them? And Bhagavan says, to grant Duff, who has this problem. We have dealt with problems of the world, problems of stock market, problems of any kind of learning being aggregated and held with greed. But what about death of the body? Is that the end of the story? Somebody comes and stays, the Theseus boat of aggregated thoughts, he takes the breath and goes to some other loka. And Bhagavan says, that journey comes about only when you identify with your Theseus boat. Only when you think you are the aggregate of thoughts, you think your mother is also the aggregate of thoughts and will be going somewhere. Grand Duff comes to Bhagavan. He's a great philosopher of his time, great poet, and he's 70 by the time these incidents happen. But the day he comes, he gets a spiritual experience in Bhagavan's presence. Something happens to him very deeply, which reveals to him the nature of life and bondage. And the next day he comes and asks Bhagavan, Bhagavan, how am I going to give this to my mother? He is not married, but he feels indebted to his mother who gave him birth. How can I solve that Pitur karma, the debt due to her? I want her to get this information. How do I transfer this to her? This is worry. How to solve this problem? And see Bhagavan's answer. Bhagavan says, Only if you consider yourself to be the body. Another body from which this body issued forth is called as the biological mother, is called as the mother. But if you understand you are the I thought, you are the I thought, then that chit, that sat chit, from which the I thought separates itself apparently, that is the Chinmayi. That is the real mother. That is the mother of you and the mother of the one whom you call as mother. And the root error we all make is we forget our Chinmayi. We forget our true parentage, which has never left us. Chinmayi never leaves us. The root error is that you feel you are separate from Chinmayi. Go back to her. You are getting back to your real mother. You are getting back to the Satchit and losing your individuality in that Satchit is the real help to yourself and the one whom you call as mother. Says your mother has not gone anywhere. All those apparent journeys are solved. Where has our mother gone? If you see the month in which we do Pitru Karma, there are so many layers there. The 14 days of sadhana, we have to do Pitru Karma for the normal Pitrus, 3 generations of Pitrus, 4th generation is set to go. Then there are Rishi Pitrus. For separate day is there. If you worship them, they will take you to the moksha part. Now, why study all this? When you understand that only if you identify with the Theseus god, you will consider your mother also to be the Theseus god. The mother, the moment you drop the consciousness from its need to grasp, from its need to identify, you understand who is your mother. Who is your mother? Your mother is also that same Chinmayi. The one whom you called as mother, where they have to come. So my sister was asking me in the afternoon, what is this game of joining and separation, Nandu? What is this game we are having? We got married in 80. We have had such a good life. And now the calling has come and I have to prepare myself for being separated. And we really don't know who is going to go first. What is this game of separation? So I shared with her that the root problem is feeling that we are separate. Is the feeling that I am this Nanda Kumar and my wife is somewhere there. That is the root of the problem. What I have to do, I have to inquire for whom is this thought. The aggregation of the body is not me, is non-self. The aggregation of the thoughts is not me. The consciousness has to learn to free itself. So what is the root cause of all problems? Agandai. This is the Vedantic truth. It is not something suggested by an individual. So an individual need not feel great or small about this great statement that there is a solution to all problems. Because that statement is not an individual statement. It is the essence of all learnings that the individual consciousness could have ever had. The rishis have brought this out, that the root cause of all sufferings is the separate feeling that I am so and so, the ahankara. And Bhagavan says, relentlessly inquire into this root cause of all sufferings. What is it that one has to inquire? As thought arises, do not pursue the thought. If you pursue the thought, you are trying to complete it. And Bhagavan says, you are not the one to complete the thought. I was sharing with my sister, you are not the one to complete the thought Swaminathan should be good. Or I am not the one to complete the thought that there should be, everyone should be happy in the world. When the thought comes to me, everyone should be happy in the world, and the thought comes to you, what will happen to Swaminathan? Both of us should ask, for whom is this thought? And the answer will come, this thought is for me. Both of us should offer our thought to the Ishvara. Let Ishvara take care of the Supiksha of the world. Let Ishvara take care of Swaminathan. Let me ask only this singular question of Ishvara, who am I? And Bhagavan says, Soham Spurti Taya Arunachala Shiva. Purna Vibhadisvaya. If you ask Koham, if I let go of trying to fulfill my thought that everybody in the world should be happy, or she lets go of the thought that her son should be well, and we don't try to complete that thought, but we ask for whom is this thought, then Arunachala himself, the Satchit itself will raise an answer as I. The Akanda Akara Vritti. The Akanda Akara Atma Vritti. In Bhakti Marga, it is called as Akanda Akara Vritti. The Dhyana itself consumes the Dhyani. In Atma Vichara, the Aham itself goes as Aham, 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 Aham. Because in Ishvara's self, there is no self and non-self. There is only He. There is only Ishvara. That is why in Dakshinamurti Stotram it is said, to go to the self, you have to cross Ishvara. To go to the self, you have to come to that power under whose existence this whole creation is working. You have to go to that witness who is unaffected by the happenings of karma, who is present in Buddhism also as the witness. The Sakshi Bhava, you have to touch that before going to the Atma, which doesn't have the difference as the witness and the witnessed. Before going to the self, the Ishwaratva has to be identified with. The Sayujyam with Ishwaratva will happen automatically. One cannot even stop there. One cannot even stop with the Sayujya with the Ishwaratva. One should go to the self beyond the triad of Jagat, Jiva and Ishvara. And that will happen naturally in self-inquiry. The self-inquiry will continue and the silence of the self will remain as the sole reality. Beyond the waking dream and deep sleep, beyond the Jagat, Jiva and Ishvara, and that is where all problems are solved. What is the root cause of all problems? That is also present in me. Within me lies the source of separateness from the source. And within me lies the solution of going beyond this separation. See the beauty of the teaching. All this time, the outward turned Jiva was feeling it has to do this, it has to do that, it has to change the circumstance, have the better TV, have the better refrigerator, have the better AC. See that the hospital bill is reduced by some amount. All these were the issues and problems. And Bhagavan comes and says the problems are not there. The root of the problems is within you, just like it is within everyone. As the feeling of the separate ego, that I am this Theseus boat, I am this body, I am this mind. How to dismantle the Theseus boat? Self-inquiry. Then the aggregated body parts is non-self. The aggregated thoughts is non-self. All that getting dismantled. You are one with the ever-present self. You are one with the ever-present Atma Swarupa. That is where all the problems become non-existent. The only reality is the consciousness that is aware of its ever-present nature. There are no individuals. There is no individual to aggregate something and feel this is me. Everything, everyone, all problems really do not exist. Only the Atma Swarupa exists. But this cannot be the teachings to start with. The teachings to start with Bhagavan gives is, there is this experience that you feel you are this here, and there is this seen world. You take both to be real. But if they are real, both should continue in all the three states. Do they continue in all the three states? The seer and the seen continue in waking, continue in dream in a different form, but are absent in deep sleep. Therefore, this feeling that the seer-seen separation is there, this is not true. This cannot be real. And who has to take the onus of responsibility to cross this? The seer has to take the responsibility to cross the seer-seen difference. The who am I is the root task which dismantles the root cause of all suffering. Cancer is not the suffering, it affects only the body. Bhagavan says, body itself is a disease. All the diseases superimposed on it, don't worry about them. Whether it is heart attack, cancer, those elements have to be dismantled at some time. I have to go with Kaveri. If those people who are remaining, they decide to send it in Kaveri, then that, otherwise it is Ediyor Lake. But that is not you. You are obviously more complex than that. But then that complex gathering of knowledge is also not you. They cannot condition you unless Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says, you are holding on to the tree and saying that the tree is holding me. All that knowledge is inert, jada. But we feel they are valuable and gather and keep. And this is me, that is not me. We create birth and death. I am here, so the rest of it is death of me. I am not there. By identifying with this, I create my own death immediately. By letting go of identity of this, the immortality is the reality. By letting go of identity with the gross body, by letting go of identity with the subtle body, one lets go of the nature of having to grasp and be a separate ego. That is where we are one with everyone. That is where the division as seer and seen goes. That is where the ahankara is dismantled and all problems are dissolved and absorbed in this. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.